anyone achieving success, sometimes you see it from the outside and you're like, oh, that must be like, they must have it easy. They must have it all figured out. This person, they're perfect. Their life is perfect. They must have had like a great upbringing. They must have had money to get started. They must have had influence. And all of those things are not true. In fact, most of the people I interview, they've went through some of the most difficult situations in their life. They've overcome maybe health adversity, family adversity, business adversity, maybe multiple adversities, maybe all of the above. And the truth is, a lot of that stuff is how we develop our story. That's how we develop our character. It's easy to be positive and excited when you're rank advancing and everybody's joining your team and your business is exploding, or you're in a new relationship and you're in like that honeymoon phase. It's easy to be excited when things are going well. The true test of a leader is when you go through that adversity, when the economy shifts. In fact, part of this topic today will be that specific thing. In fact, how many of us have felt the squeeze with the economy, or you felt like maybe things are a little harder, maybe we're having to work harder and we're making less, like the results are not what they once were. So I want you to hear Allan's story and hear some of his advice, because he's a top earner in network marketing, but also has overcome quite a bit. And guess what? Is still going through adversity, is still overcoming. And I just think it's powerful. And he's got a new book he's going to talk about as well. So Allan, excited to have you on the show and excited to get into the goods. If you could start off, as we always love for the person, the guest, to share a little bit about their story, their background, maybe prior to network marketing, what that looked like. And we can kind of go from there. Sound good?
Sounds great, man. Thanks so much for having me on, John. I've been pumped for this conversation with you and your audience. So our story, just a quick backstory, is my wife, Nicole, and I, we met in college, 19 years old, married by age 20. That was 31 years ago, John, a little over 31 years married now.
Wow, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, it is crazy when I think about it, how fast time flies. We've been blessed with 6 children, all boys except for 5 of them. So 1 boy, 5 girls, for those that are not awesome at math. But anyway, no, we have an active life, busy life. I was in the construction industry. Aside from a stint at about 5 years as a California Highway Patrol officer, I spent most of our married years in construction, general contractor, real estate broker, property management, building, until 2008 crashed. And then we had our best years ever, which sounds like an oxymoron, but we shifted quickly into flipping about 20 homes a month, killing it in real estate from 2009 through 2016, when I exited that to go full-time in network marketing about 7 years ago. But during that construction period, I was making great money, 7-figure income. Outwardly, it looked like, you mentioned earlier, John, everybody, we all have challenges. And on the outside, my life, no doubt, would have looked like, dude, he's got it all together, man. He's got the big income, got a beautiful wife, which I still do, and, beautiful family and healthy and all these things. But little did they know, little would they have known all the things that were going on behind the scenes. And so that was really kind of the reason why I wrote the book. We were talking about that a little bit earlier. Life's hard, succeed anyway. But fast forward to 2015, I actually wake up in a jail cell going, again, 7-figure income earner, pillar in the community, and I'm waking up with a DUI in jail going, I was the cop that was arresting, that put people here. How did I get here? And it sent me to a place where I really started reevaluating everything. John, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? Is it just about the money? Is it just about the title, the career, the this, the that? And the answer came back a resounding no. It's not about that. It's never been about that for me. That's why I went into police work in my 20s. I wanted to make a difference. So therefore, where do I go from here? So I just reevaluated everything through that process of asking the right questions, made a 180 degree pivot, walked into my 3 partners, which are my little brother and my late little brother and 2 younger cousins, and gave them our $40 million a year business. Wow. And I came home to be a full-time, I don't know if I'd say full-time, but a professional network marketer we started our business on the side in 2015, full-time 16 months later in 2016. And we've been scaling it ever since.
That must have felt good, but also super scary, right? You had to make a really tough, big decision to start all over and throw a business away that was doing well. And, I think it's amazing how, and I'm sure you would agree with this with network marketing, it's like personal development with a compensation plan attached, right? It's like the more you work on yourself and develop your skills, develop your belief and your confidence and all that, it's like the bank account is a direct reflection of that. And it's such a big part of the journey. But, also it's more relatable, right? It's more relatable when you've gone through some ish. Like nobody wants to hear the story of someone that got started and like things just blew up right out of the gate and had no troubles, no challenges. And also at the same time, it tells me that, and I talk about this a lot too, that people need to open their mouth and have conversations with successful people. You were super successful in business for years. Like on the outside, people just thought, hey, look, that guy's making, millions of dollars, making money through all these different income streams, investment properties, whatnot, property management, like you said, flipping homes, doing all these things. And you were open and somebody recruited you. Somebody had that conversation with you. And I'd love to hear, what did that look like?
Yeah, that's a great point. And I use my story a lot just in training and teaching. And I'm glad you shared that because you're right. On the outside, it looked like I wouldn't have been open, but nobody knew on the inside I was hurting. I literally was hurting. I lacked passion. I lacked purpose. I lacked vision for my life. And so somebody came along, a very good friend who'd been a friend for many years, and they shared the vision of what this could be for me, what this could be for my family, what it could be for my marriage, what it could be for the countless hundreds of thousands of eventually millions of lives that could be impacted by, as you said, this personal development program with a compensation plan attached. He painted a vision. He painted this vision of what my life could look like, and the impact. It was the impact that got me. It was like the impact, the freedom. It was the freedom and the impact. I don't know which is greater, but those two. And it was like, and by the way, John, it took him a year and a half in my worst, most difficult time of my life. Instead of just saying yes to something that would be amazing, it took me a year and a half to say yes. I mean, and he was so consistent. Like, I know you're a master at follow-up. He was like you and just loving and caring and faithful and diligent and following up in a healthy, positive way. I never felt like he was chasing me down, just caring about me. And that's what happened.
Yeah. It's probably the most important skill to develop because you're not just painting vision into like your prospect, right? That's important, but also your team, right? Like your team is going to follow you if they feel like you have that certainty, you have that clarity, like where you're going, what you're doing, what's the vision, what's the mission. All of that is so important. And like you said, the freedom and the impact, right? I mean, so many people, they might make a lot of money, but they own a business that owns them. Or they have a job. It's a great job. They make great money, but if they don't work, they don't get paid. Or at the end of the day, they do something that doesn't fulfill them. It doesn't give them that that purpose, that passion, that drive to show up every day. There's no impact. So I love that you mentioned that. And I think that's something that a lot of us, when we're first getting started, we're just like, man, I just need to make my money back. Or I just need to make like, an extra $500 a month. We don't have the vision. We don't have, and actually, I think it was Eric Worre, somebody I heard talking about this where, they get a lot of complaints from network marketing leaders that say, my team is lazy, my team isn't doing anything. And he was saying, they're not lazy. They're not inspired. They don't see the point of posting on social media or prospecting or plugging into training. Like, you're the leader. You're the one that has to move them into action, especially in the beginning when they lack that confidence, when they lack that belief in themselves, especially when they're brand new and they haven't made any money or they've never done something like this before. Or someone like you, someone like me, when we got started in network marketing, or at least, you got started 8 years ago. I got started with my company 8 years ago. I had a lot of confidence. I had a lot of certainty because I'd done it before. I'd built businesses before. I had influence. I had credibility. So in the beginning, people could borrow my confidence. And still today, when I enroll somebody, I'm sure with you, same thing. Like, you have a much better idea of what it takes to be successful once you've achieved success. But at the same time, we have to realize not everybody has that same background. Not everybody has that same vision or understanding of what's possible. So can you talk a little bit about, what would you recommend to somebody that's like kind of stuck? They're kind of in that place where maybe they do have some personal things going on. Maybe they do have some stuff like the foundation of their life is being rocked right now. They're in a bad financial spot, or, they're in the middle of a breakup, like something really tough is happening. What would be some of your advice for someone like that?
The Bible says without a vision, the people perish. And I think the reason why it says that and we're told that is because when we know where we're going, when we're clear on where we're going, and not just where we're going, but why we're going there. And one thing, a little analogy I love using, and I just thought of it recently. I haven't used it for years, but when I was a highway patrol officer in the academy, they taught us, what do you do when you're driving at 130 miles an hour, or at any speed for that matter? You want to have a high visual horizon. And contrary to what you might think, you think if you look right over the hood like a new driver does, and you're trying to see what the lines and where you're going, you've got better vision. You don't. You have better vision, believe it or not, looking a half a mile down the road if you're able, if the road's straight. And you can see better, even close, what's happening with your peripheral vision. And I think that's life. When you get clear, and I know it's been my experience, when I can get clear on my vision, like this is where we're going. Yeah. I'm going to keep my eyes on the prize, maybe said a different way. And it's clear in my mind. Combined with belief that I can get there, because that's another big key. I mean, some people have vision in their dreams, but they don't truly believe that it's a reality for them. Well, then you're not going to go through the hard to get there. The reality is you're going to hit the hard and it's going to stop you. But when you can have the belief and you can have the vision of where you're going, why you're going there, who you're going there with, I'd even add your tribe, then the things that happen around you, the muck and the crud that we're going through right now, we're not going to just keep buried in it. We're not going to keep focused on it. We're going to keep a high visual horizon on where we're going, and we're going to keep and the key is we're going to keep moving through it and not get stuck in it. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I think that's a huge, huge key, because ultimately it's about consistency. It's about continuing to put one foot in front of another, moving through the hard, because it doesn't last forever. Been through a ton of junk and none of it's lasted forever. But we've got to keep moving. How do you keep moving? Keep a vision, keep your eyes up on where you're going, high visual horizon, know where you're heading, and keep moving.
I love that. And I always say this too shall pass, right?
Yeah.
We've all heard this, but it's true. Like, doesn't matter how bad the situation is, this too shall pass. And one day you'll look back and you go, dude, it wasn't that bad. Or you'll look back and go, hey, that really terrible thing that happened, that breakup, that disappointment, that business, that went away, or whatever happened. My last company was shut down by the FTC. At the time, I was like, dude, this sucks. Like the first 24 to 48 hours were brutal, but blessing in disguise. Because if that didn't happen, even though I wish it didn't, right? You would never wish for someone's business to go away. But that happening was the best thing that could have happened, because it made us open our mind to a new opportunity that's changed our lives the last 8 years. And we've had more success, more impact, right? We have more freedom, all the things you mentioned, because that really bad thing happened. The other thing I think we all need to keep in mind, you just got to keep it real. Like, you can't just consistently do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. You have to consistently improve as well. It is what it is. What are you going to do about it? Curl up in a corner and feel sorry for yourself? No, that's never a good idea. We have to realize that, like, first of all, perfection is boring. Your story would be totally unrelatable if it was super easy and you had lots of success and you had no adversity, nothing to overcome. But also, I think we have to realize that that's a part of growth as well. That's how you develop into the kind of leader you have to be to deserve the success you desire. So if you desire a lot of success, financial abundance, freedom, you want to buy a beach house like Allan, right? You want to travel the world. You want to have all these things. Maybe you want to write your own book one day. Like, you can't tell the story. You can't go out there and paint a vision, or, expect people to follow you if you haven't overcome anything, if you haven't gone through the tough times, the difficulty. In fact, I always tell people, and this is why I'm very upfront with my story, that it took me 7 years to crack a full-time income, 16 years to become a millionaire. Good thing I didn't give up in the first 5 years. Good thing I didn't give up in the first 10 years. Good thing I didn't give up when my last company was shut down. And I kept going, kept showing up, even though I was scared, even though I didn't have that certainty. Now, what would you say, Allan, for somebody that, they're really wanting to get to that next level in their business, in their life, in their faith, in their fitness, but they're so busy, right? They got so much going on. Like, it seems like literally from morning till night, I'm sure you get this too, right? Where people are just like, oh, I want to do this and I want to do that. And I got it, but I got, this job and I got these kids and I got all these things. Like, what would you recommend for someone that feels like they have a lot of these goals, they have the vision, but they struggle with the whole time conversation?
Again, perspective is everything. I think, we're talking about the perspective of challenges and adversity in life. Also, it's been helpful for me to look at people I can look up to and say, look, they've got the same 24 hours that I do. They've got the same 7 days a week that I do. So let's get rid of the limiting beliefs and say, I don't have time to write a book, or I don't have time to invest into being relationally rich in my marriage and with my children and other people. Like, let's just get rid of the excuses and let's say, what am I going to do about it? And I would say, practically speaking, one of my favorite things to do is recommend like taking an inventory of your time. And this is not going to be probably anything new for you, John, but I cannot, it's amazing to me how many people have never done it. And that is just set a stopwatch to go off, or an alarm, I should say, to go off every 15 minutes, do it for a minimum of 2 days. More is better if you can do a whole week, but it's not easy. It's not easy. So even a couple days is better than nothing. And every 15 minutes, just take a log. What am I doing right now? Boom, boom, boom. And you start looking at it and going, man, even if you sleep, 51 hours in a week, like a normal average person does. And even if you commute and work 50 hours a week, like an average person does, and you start chunking away the week. And when you start looking at the reality of how you're spending, it's the same thing I recommend when people are like, I just can't lose weight. I don't know if these products are effective. Well, let's take a food log. Why don't you just a couple days, just 2 or 3 days, journal every liquid and solid that goes in your mouth, write it down. And then let's get together and let's look at that. Right. And it can be really revealing. Same thing with our time. We all have time. It's how we're investing
it's funny too. You ever had somebody like pull up their screen time?
Yeah.
It's like, so you have no time to build your business, but you're averaging 7 hours a day.
Right.
I'm sorry. What's going, or even 3 hours, right? 3 hours of just scrolling and looking at others. So that's a great point. Yeah. You'd be shocked by how much time is wasted every single day. We waste literally hours every day, not just hours every week, every day. There are hours wasted that we could be doing something progressive to move our business forward, or our life forward, our fitness forward, whatever that looks like. So great point.